attending from Ann Arbor.
Deborah Mexicott.
Here attending from Ann Arbor's my family room.
David Isa.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Sarah Fuller.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Sophie Gray. John Katarski.
Here from Ann Arbor.
Peggy Leonard.
Peggy's not coming.
Wasenta Young.
You're muted.
We see she's attending. And Travis
Here
Redeem.
from Ann Arbor, Pittsfield Township.
Thank you, Asantha.
Here from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. First on our agenda is the approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Thank you, David. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the agenda? Any opposed?
Aye.
Great, so we got the agenda, and then I'm assuming, I don't see it on the, oh, approval minutes is down here. Okay, I guess I'll wait for minutes. Presentation and or public comment. It looks like we're starting with a presentation from, I think, Missy?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for making some time and space for Simi and I to come today. Simi, do you want to introduce yourself first and I'll pop in?
Hi, everyone. I'm Simi Barr, Energy Coordinator in the Office of Sustainability and Innovations.
Thanks, Simi. And hi, everybody. I'm Missy Stoltz. I'm the head of Sustainability and Innovations for the city. And we are so delighted to come to you today with a project that we hope excites you, as much as it excites us. I hope that you know that Ann Arbor has a pretty audacious, aggressive plan to achieve carbon neutrality, basically to help address climate change, comfort, safety, and health within our community, and it's called A20. It was adopted by council unanimously on June 1st last year. So June 1st of this year is the 1-year anniversary, and we had planned 15 months ago that we would do a big celebration, bring the community together, really acknowledge the accomplishments, think about what was coming in the next year. And here we are, right? We're still in COVID. We really can't be together in the traditional sense. We're all from our living rooms, which is also very lovely and very charming to be with each other in this way. But as we think about this 1-year celebration, we have to think a little differently than what we might have done previously. So what the team in the Office of Sustainability and Innovations and at the city has constructed is a 1-week celebration. And it's called A20 Week, and it'll run from June 1st through June 6th. And there's more details on the website. And there are really 3 priorities. Every day, there'll be an activity where you can learn something, you can do something, you can have a little fun. And there'll be activities that cross the whole week, like many of you may know about the Mayor's Green Fair. Normally we would close Main Street and we would have businesses out and you would learn about sustainable products. Well, we can't really do that because we don't want to bring a lot of people to one location. So we're having Green Fair, F-A-R-E, where local restaurants are producing more sustainable food product. And we're going to highlight that this week. There's a whole bunch of fun things. And one of the things we're here to talk to you about today and get your feedback on is the launch of an A20 mural. So we worked when we were creating our A20 carbon neutrality plan with an artist named Yen Azaro out of Ypsilanti, and she had helped us create some visualizations. Because when I say climate change and I say decarbonization, I know what that means, but that's a really, really hard construct. What does it mean to combat climate change? So Yen worked with us to do some visualizations of what different areas of the community could look like if we move forward in a more sustainable way. What does that mean in terms of walkability, in terms of solar power, in terms of more trees and more accessibility, and candidly more people interacting with each other on a human level. So for the anniversary of A20, we thought it would be really nice to bring some of her artwork to one of our iconic spots. And so we worked with the Parks Department and we identified some pillars on the Border to Border Trail in Gallup. And Simi has been working with Yen and the Parks Department to finalize and kind of plan what this mural could look like. And again, it is a celebration of the 1-year anniversary. Our hope is that we will be painting the mural. Yen is going to outline it. She's going to sketch it. And then we have volunteers coming to help. And so I think Simi is going to share some dates if anyone does want to volunteer, or if you could share with your network, because we really want to bring people in. This is a community plan. This is a community program. It would be great to have the community help us actually creating the artwork to celebrate this community. So we're excited to do that. It would be Memorial Day weekend. And then the idea is that the mural itself would launch on June. Oh, I just drew a blank. It's June 2nd. Nope, June 1st. Timmy's correcting me. So it'll be June 1st with a formal unveiling. And we're excited to do that. We've got the mayor on deck to come and do some, trying to figure out if we're going to do a ribbon cutting or more of like a drop, an unveiling of product. But we have some images I think we could share. They are being tweaked based on some initial feedback we got. And this is in your packet. I don't know if it would be useful to share the image with those who may not have it, but if so, I'm happy with that. That's the intent here. We're pretty excited about it and having it be kind of part of the Art Commission's portfolio. So you know about it, you help promote it, and if you want to be involved with it, we would absolutely unequivocally love that.
You
Share
need
button.
it to share your screen, to share the image.
I'm happy to. So it will be all sided.
And if I may, while she's doing that, Vanita, are you able to elevate Sophie to panelist? Looks like she's in attendance now.
Simi, do you want to share? Looks like Simi's ready and I can help.
Hi, Sophie.
You're on mute, Simi.
Oh, I'm actually not able to share my screen.
Okay. Let me just get it here. I have it. You're seeing the craziness of technology. All right. A few things to note about the draft I'm going to pull up here in just a second. We are updating the image. These are details. You're going to notice that it's hard to read the A20 logo. So we're elevating that to be in the clouds for better contrast. Just 1 second and you'll see this. And we are leashing the dog, which matters. Let's see. Here we go. So this image on the left actually has changed quite a lot, and I'll take a second. I mean, not quite a lot. We do have a better image from Yen. We've added more trees. We've added solar panels on the roof. We have people sitting along the side, which is why I actually want to try to find that for you. But we took some feedback that we got from the group. So this will be sort of like the Main Street image of downtown, and you're going to see the river running in the background. So in a second, I'll take this off and I'll see if I can find that image and pull that up for you. So this will be movement centered, really, again, focusing on the Huron, but then pedestrian movement. You'll notice we're not gonna have cars in the downtown, mostly because we want to center on the person itself as being central to this work that we're trying to do. And there will be elevated solar panels on these, and again, more trees and benches out, because we want to denote different ways that people can interact within this landscape. And then this is the logo for A20. Slight modifications. Normally the A20 would be up top. If anyone's seen our logo, we're going to put it in the clouds. And then again, I know this seems silly, but we're going to leash the dog, which our logo does not have a leash. It was pre that time, but nonetheless, those are the only modifications. And then it's going to be all 4 sides of this will be wrapped. So regardless of how you interact, there is a path on the other side. You're still going to see the same thing. Or if you're on this side with a mock jogger, you're going to see the same thing. So either way, you're paddling in this area, we're also seeing it. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and see if I can find the other rendition here, just to have that for you.
Does anybody have any questions for Missy or Simi? David, looks like you have your hand up.
On the left one, what were the little boxes or something on Main Street that the people were walking and biking by. They look like tombstones.
Yeah, not tombstones, but thank you for naming that. No, they're just initial placeholders for recycling compost containers. So they're actually going to be further, they'll be further sketched out in greater detail.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good question. Okay.
I mean, I will say I'm excited to come out and potentially rush a couple strokes, and I'll as soon as you guys share the details, I'll definitely put that out on my social media to get people to come and participate in a safe way. I know you guys are also looking for businesses to partner with still to do events and things, right? What kind of businesses? Just businesses downtown, or because I know a lot of us are associated with different businesses.
Across the board. So if I'll work with Anita after and we'll send around the link to 820 week. You'll notice that each day has anywhere between the lowest is 2, which is the Friday of that week, just because it tends to be a pretty chaotic day, to 5 events taking place. So there's meditation that we're doing with some partners in the community to kind of, and thoughtfulness practice to initiate this work. It's some partners are having conversations around carbon pricing. We're doing a zero waste event. We've got businesses, our restaurants, of course, we're highlighting in terms of product that they have that's more sustainable product. The Ann Arbor Distilling Company is launching a special drink. I think it might be called Tree Huggers. Stay tuned, we're designing. Proceeds of that drink go to tree planting in low-income areas of the community. And so there's a whole bunch of things that are happening during the week. We're likely testing a reusable container pilot with about 10 local businesses. So as you get to go, if you go dine and have some of that green fare, you might see that in a reusable container that we're going to try to understand how that works in our community. So, and then just today I was at BYOC, Bring Your Own Container, a brand new company in town that started up where they are also helping to promote 820 week and 820 more broadly. So there's no limit opportunities, very non-succinctly, Allison, say. If you know of someone that wants to get involved, the magnitude of what we're trying to do with 820 necessitates all hands on deck.
Cool. John.
I think it's excellent. It's wonderful. And I really like the public engagement. So I really appreciate that you've engaged people in the concept, in the design, the execution, the promotion. You know, this is the kind of art installation that is popular, a genre, and it's really moving. And what it really does is it gets the community into making art, being creative, changing the public space. So I applaud Dr. Stoltz and Simi for your efforts and coming here to us, because we can, at the very least, spread the word. And I hope that Travis can do the same on council at meetings. You know, we individually have social media. So we're here to help. And I think it's an awesome project.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Travis.
Thanks. Yeah, I also just want to applaud staff for their work on this. I mean, this continues to demonstrate how integrated OSI is into really everything that we're doing citywide, which I think is really impressive and critical to accomplishing our goals. And so keeping this to the top of mind, even, you know, in our art projects and in all of the other things that we do, is really critical. And so thanks to both of you again for this and for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Sarah, I saw your hand up.
Yes, I was wondering if you had some sort of graphic with event information about the week, because I would love to put that. I work at Motawi Tile Works, and we have obviously an art-loving clientele, and putting that in our gallery, you know, just so that we can speak about it to those people. You know, it's something we could just print out and laminate and put out. If you have anything like that, those kinds of materials, if you forward that. Oh, perfect. Yeah, something.
Yeah, we'll forward this, and we did put a QR. We put a QR code intentionally on this, so we have less paper, so folks can go directly to the calendar of events. But these are just some of the highlights. We're launching a scavenger hunt. We have a day of service on Sunday. So if any of your organizations need some help, we've got a bunch of volunteers that want to get out and do something as well. And then there'll be a pledge that we're launching to continue staying engaged in the work.
Great.
Yeah, awesome. Make sure you share this with everybody. I think
Will do.
we'll put it out. Don't see
Awesome.
any other hands. Usually not a lot of feedback means it's really good and strong all on its own. You guys, I know you guys have been working hard on this, so.
Well, if I can just make one plug,
Yeah.
we'll have 2 shifts on Saturday and Sunday of Memorial Day weekend to help fill in the lines and get it painted. In each one of those shifts, we'll have about 6 volunteers, and myself and the artist Yen will be on site as well. So we'll be able to all distance. But if you're interested in helping out or think you know people who are, just reach out to volunteer at a2gov.org. We're working with Give 365 on helping us get our volunteer base. So reach out there, and hopefully we'll see some of you there. And I appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Sophie.
I missed the beginning, I'm sorry, but I'm just wondering if there's a more detailed place to go to volunteer than simply a2gov.org, which covers a lot of ground.
So if you email volunteer@a2gov.org and just let them know you'd like to help out with our 820 mural.
Okay.
And we've got volunteer shifts on Saturday and Sunday in the morning and afternoon.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for that, clarifying that. All right. Missy, Simi, any other final words for us?
Just thank you.
Okay. I think, Missy, there might be some follow-up questions for you later on in relation to a grant. So if you want to hang around, or we can maybe move the agenda around to have that conversation.
I am on kid bedtime duty. I apologize.
That's okay.
You have to go do that, but I can pop in if that goes fast.
We'll just reconnect with you later on it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we have a presentation from the Ann Arbor Arts Center about their alley project.
Hey everyone, my name is Jason Ennis. I'm founder and owner of Center Design Studio. I'm working with the Ann Arbor Arts Center. My co-chair Andrew is here. Andrew, if you want to briefly introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Cohen. I am the lead curator at the Ann Arbor Arts Center, so I'm in charge of the galleries, programs, and programming. Hi Deb, it's good to see you again.
Well, thank you all for making the time to listen to our Alleyway project. We recently met with Craig as well as Vanita and some other city officials to talk a little bit about what it is we're trying to do. So some of you may be familiar. I think a couple of years ago we met with the Public Art Commission as the Art in Public program through the Ann Arbor Art Center. And for the past couple of years, we've been primarily focusing on murals in downtown. You've probably noticed some of the murals that have gone up in and around downtown. Recently this year, I took over the programming, and I'm an architectural designer by trade. And I wanted to focus a little bit more on experiential or engaging programming as opposed to just murals. So one of the things that we're trying to do this year is do more installation-based programming or installation-based art. So I don't know if I'm able to share my screen. I don't know that. Does anyone know if they could make me accessible?
She's working on it.
Sure. So one of the things we're trying to do is a alleyway installation, and I actually have been in Ann Arbor for about 3 years now, and came from Chattanooga where I did a very similar project. We did a series of temporary alleyway installations. So here we go. Thank you, Vanessa. Let me know if you all can see that.
We can.
Great. So we did a very similar project in Chattanooga, and there's a few examples of that later on in this draft of a proposal. But what we're hoping to do is launch a competition essentially that kind of targets installation artists as well as architects, designers, and/or 2D artists. But the intent of it is to just kind of show the potential of some of the more forgotten spaces throughout our downtown area. And I'll share this with the group, or I don't know that if Anita has shared this with the group, but the project goal essentially is to re-pedestrianize some of these auxiliary spaces. There's several examples in several cities across the United States that have already done similar projects. You can actually, if you open up this document on your computer, you can actually click on these and it'll take you to a website that will tell you a little bit more about those specific projects. Let me zoom in a little bit. This is actually one of the first, this image down here is actually one of the first alleyway projects we did in Chattanooga. It was meant to be a temporary installation. There was a series of 5.
Jason, all I'm seeing, and maybe other people are seeing something different, but I see the alleyway that's right around the corner from the Art Center with the alleyway project title page.
Oh. I'm scrolling. Apparently, it's not following. Is everyone else seeing the same thing?
Yeah, we're just
You
in the
probably
cover
need to
page.
take it down and then read.
Okay,
Put
let
up
me
the-
stop sharing. Sorry. Let me reshare. See if that works. Okay. Is that a different?
Yes.
Okay. So here we go. Can you guys see as I scroll? Is it moving now? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. So these are examples of other alleyway installations that have been successful across some other cities. This particular alleyway in the bottom left-hand corner is one of the first of 5 of a series of temporary alleyway installations that we did in Chattanooga. There was a great public response to those installations. This is actually an image from the kind of launch party, obviously pre-COVID. This was several years ago, and 2 of these 5 actually ended up being permanent because they were durable enough and the public liked them enough that they just ended up staying up. That particular installation led to the one that's on top of it. This one had a substantial amount more funding and was always intended to be a permanent installation that was completed in 2016. And this was in collaboration both with the same agencies private agencies that we were working with on the first and the Public Art Commission within Chattanooga. So there's precedence for this, being a successful project. Some of these other ones are just more temporary ones, such as one in Austin, Texas, in the upper right-hand corner. The one in the middle on the right is actually a similar, it's from the same first round of those initial temporary Chattanooga-based ones. And then a more fun kind of temporary one that's just these pool noodles that I thought was a really cool example. So is it moving as I scroll still? Okay. So the idea intent with this is to actually throw a competition. It's similar to how we threw the first round of the Chattanooga-based ones. And what we're hoping to do is just get as many people to participate within that competition as possible. And part of that intent is just to spark imagination around what's possible. So this is actually the request for proposal that we hope to push out sometime in the next few weeks and run a 5 to 6 week competition and get those proposals back in the form of design boards, essentially, and then hopefully fund 3 to 5 of these to actually be built. Obviously, there's criteria that has to occur with something like this, and that was what the initial conversation with the city was. around habitability, safety. Obviously, we have to coordinate with trucks coming in and down and all the services that have to occur within these alleyways. So we're still kind of working through some of that with the city officials too as well. And then the potential sites that we're looking at, it's really this main corridor that's adjacent to the Ann Arbor Art Center, and then potentially the one that's next to the City Club apartments too as well. And I can zoom in a little bit so that you can actually see that. But these are just potential sites. It's really just a launching board for people to design around. The intent would be that we go through a selection process after the proposals are collected. We go through a selection process and then kind of match to alleyways. There's still a lot of moving parts in terms of access and then building owners and all these moving parts. So the intent is to kind of leave it somewhat loose as far as site specific designs, and then tailor those designs before they're actually built to a specific site, if that makes sense. The timeline is really still kind of loose. We're kind of in the process, obviously, here presenting to you all of working through some of the logistics of all of it. And the intent is it to be free and accessible and a free competition to everybody. And so basically anybody can register and participate. And we're asking that whoever participates gives us some basic information and then gives us a design board with their concept on it. As far as the selection goes, we're going to go through a design jury. So there's several folks that I've worked with in the past that are kind of nationally recognized for this type of work specifically. And then we're going to have a local jury that we're putting together. I'd love someone from the Public Art Commission to participate in that. And then hopefully be building these sometime later this fall. So I think that's all I have. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'd love to, or if Andrew, if you have anything to add to the conversation, I'd love to hear it. Let me stop sharing.
I think it looks like a really, really cool project, Jason. It's exciting. And thank you for including us at this stage and sharing the information. The only questions that sparked up in my mind while you were going through it, I saw there was a 10 to 15K award. Is that the award to the artist that they use for the installation, or is that just for their design?
Yeah, that's for the actual installation, and it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. What we did in the last round in Chattanooga was we asked people to submit. If they made it to the next round, we asked them to submit a budget to us, and that includes their artist fee. And so it really depends on what it is they're proposing, where they might fall on that spectrum. We just want people to know that there is albeit a modest, but there is a budget to actually execute these. And
is the hope, I know in your examples, there were some that were temporary and some that were permanent. Is there a hope to have one or the other, or just whatever happens, happens?
I think for this particular round, I think, going back to the Chattanooga precedent, I don't know that the more permanent installation would have been possible without the groundwork that the more temporary installations laid for that. And we're kind of taking the same approach. I'd love to there's something kind of scrappy and somewhat nice about just kind of a grassroots effort to do something cool on a shoestring budget. And hopefully that might lead to something more permanent in the same vein somewhere else. I think logistically, in talking with Craig and Vanita and some of the other city officials from transportation, doing something permanent in an alleyway might be logistically hard at the sites that we've identified, but doing something permanent somewhere else that is kind of similar, we're hoping that it may lead to something in the future. But I think this round would be temporary.
And are you looking at pedestrian alleyways as well as automotive alleyways?
Yeah, I know there's some other ones around town. Right now, our primary focus is the art public program through the Art Center is really kind of centralized or in and around the Arts Center, and that alleyway specifically, it's a service alleyway for a lot of restaurants and a lot of bars and other things. We really want to do something in that alleyway specifically, but I'd love for this project on a temporary basis to lead to something more permanent in a pedestrian alley or something of that.
Yeah, I asked that only because it seems like the pedestrian alleyways might be a little bit less restrictive as far as, traffic and how, like, having something overhead and how high it can go and things like that might
Sure.
give you more flexibility. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm not all that familiar with alleyways and things like that, but I know there's a pedestrian alleyway right around the corner from our gallery. I work at the Gutman Gallery, and it leads to the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum. And so it's kind of a cool alley there, and it's just pedestrian. There's just trash cans in there, really. So you wouldn't be fighting with any cars or anything. So it has a really good flexible alleyway.
Yeah.
I will stop talking though, and I will let Sophie go ahead.
Yeah, I had a similar question I wondered whether the ones in Chattanooga were also service alleyways with trucks, and whether you'd found any way around that, if so. Because that does seem to be quite restrictive about that, especially the height restriction and, not having too many bumps in the way and so on.
So yeah, if you can see my screen again, this was the first round of the ones in Chattanooga, and it was a mix of, this was actually a service alleyway, this image right here. And so they kept it somewhat 2D so that trucks could still use it as a thoroughfare. And then the general public could actually participate in this one, which was kind of cool. They were these pixels that you could move, and they actually documented this and sent it to a website that pixelated it, and you could scroll through the entire year that this was up. And so it was this very dynamic, interactive, technology-driven installation that was in a service corridor. But there were also ones that obviously were not really. This was a pedestrian alley. This was a big kind of, this one really sung at night. It was very well lit, and it was like these star installations. You moved through it, and it had these sensors that it would actually respond to you as you moved through it. So there was a mix of both service and pedestrian alleyways. The ones that we're looking at right now are mostly service alleyways. Certainly would maybe behoove us to look at some of the pedestrian alleyways that are in downtown, because I think those just logistically might be easier. And then the second round, the more permanent one, this is actually a service. Believe it or not, it's a service alleyway.
Jason, I think your screen is frozen again.
Okay, sorry. We'll try that one more time.
I love technology.
So if you can see that now, and if you can see me scrolling a little bit more, this, believe it or not, is actually a service alleyway. This is the back. There's a lot of bars and a big apartment complex that this was their presentation board. It's actually following along, you can see me scrolling. There's a lot of bars that back up to this alleyway, and they actually did a minor redesign in order to accommodate the grease truck that has to get back here, which was the largest vehicle. And they had to fit those clearances in order to accommodate the services that would come through. And this is actually a team from New York that came and built this, and their images on their website are just much better. You can see it's here. Is that, are you guys still following along, or is it frozen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So it has a 10-foot by 10-foot clearance, and they built around the services that go through there. So yes, there's both service and pedestrian alleyways that we did, and we just designed around them and coordinated.
This alley reminds me a little bit of the alley, which I think is one of the ones you guys are looking at, that's by Downtown Home and Garden and the parking structure. Is that the one that's identified on your map? Oh, cool.
Yes.
It's kind of like a wider alley than most, so it might be, I don't know, a little easier.
Yeah, and this particular alley, actually, the city ended up investing in the pavement. It was really run down before this, and there was a lot of graffiti. They actually kept some of the graffiti in order to, you can kind of see it in this image over to the right, but they just kind of added to it. And I think it ended up being a really strong, successful project that beautified the what otherwise would have just been a graffiti filled service corridor.
And Allison, to your question about why we're focusing on the vehicular alleyways, I think part of the idea behind the project is to encourage more pedestrian use of these spaces, so that maybe we help the restaurants clean up the alleyways. I think that's part of the idea, is just to kind of re-access this space from a pedestrian standpoint and make it a little more usable to the people downtown.
Are we supposed to be in those alleyways? I never really understood if I was allowed to go in those. Are we
People
supposed to be
definitely
encouraging
use
people
them.
in there?
People use them as a pass through a lot.
Yeah.
I know, because there's a parking lot behind, in the Klein
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
So I think a lot of people use them, and especially now that the streets are partially shut down over the weekends, those stretches are shut down. They're seeing even more pedestrian use.
If I can jump in to answer your question, Allison.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. They're public spaces just like the streets.
So I have as much of a right to be in that alley as the truck driver delivering to the restaurant.
Well,
If you wanna
whenever
argue
I
that-
was parking
Yes,
in
that's
that
okay.
parking structure, I didn't know whether I was allowed to walk through that
Yeah.
alleyway. So if it was more pedestrian friendly in that it had some installation there, I would feel more welcome to take that walk through that alley and not question whether I can be there or not.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
I would really appreciate it being more pedestrian friendly in the alleys, because it's so, you park right there, you need to go where you need to go. It's a lot faster, and it would be nice to not feel like you're going to get run over by a truck or car.
Yeah. Are you guys talking to the DDA at all about this project? And okay, because it seems like it kind of is in line with their safety. What's their project with the safe streets? What's the official name? Someone knows what I'm talking about. Safe streets, safe.
Healthy streets.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. It kind of seems like it would jive with what kind of thing they're going with that. Activating spaces in new ways and trying them out. And yeah. Well, very cool. John.
I like the project a lot, and I serve as the Art Commission's liaison on the Design Review Board. And I would encourage you to reach out to them, because I think they have informally a discussion about trying to activate these alleys. And they're aimed at commercial development within the DDA. And so that, and they're designers, they're city planners, architects, things like that. I would encourage you to review, there's design guidelines for contractors, developers, and character districts. And so it really goes in line with what you're talking about. And what Allison is talking about is that there are a number of other organizations that share that same interest. Now, I would encourage you to talk to Jeff Cohen, who's, and I think Craig can put you in touch with him. He's the staff person, to find out whether or not it would be appropriate to make a presentation to the Design Review Board. I'm the new kid on the block, so I have no leverage there, but that I think it would be useful if they understood what you're trying to do. And their whole interest is trying to make development in the downtown area engage pedestrians. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. And that the alleyways are sort of one of the overlooked potentials in town. So at the very least, if they could be aware of what you're doing, I think so. But again, I would reach out to Jeff Cohen, and and if you can do a little bit of homework on knowing their documents, you can speak their language and might have a better chance of getting on their agenda. But good work.
John, you said it was the Design Review Board?
The Ann Arbor Design Review Board.
Okay.
And it meets and gives advice. It's required for all developers within the DDA's district. So before any plan has to go to the planning commission and then the council, it has to go to this design review board for review, and they give collegial advice.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
And Jeff Kahn is the person's name. And if you go on the city's website, you know, it'll tell you all the contact information. So I
He's
would
the planning staff person, so it look under the planning department.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are hopefully going to launch this competition soon. In about 5 or 6 weeks, we'll go through the national design jury, and then we do need a local committee. I'd love for anyone who's interested in this type of work to participate in that. You can reach out to me. I'm sure. I can either email Vanita or email the group. And if anyone's interested in sitting on that, it would be great to have some input on the final selection. So.
Yeah, I have participated with you guys before, and Sarah is newly our vice chair. So I would, if she has the time, I would encourage her to do so.
I would love to. So I will get with Vanita to get your contact information, maybe, and we can connect.
Great.
Great.
Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to us.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing more public art to our city. We love it.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. So I don't think we have any more public to do any presentations. I don't see any other participants hanging out or attendees or anything, right? Is Vanita still here? Oh, there you are, Vanita. Okay. Everyone keeps moving. It's hard to keep track. All right. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve? David, a second. Sarah, thank you. Any discussion of the minutes? David.
Couple things. On page 3 at the top of the page, it says word group instead of, I think, work group.
Yeah.
And then a more important one on the CIP work group report, it talks about possible work at Catherine 4th Avenue parking garage. There's no parking garage there. It's a parking lot, which would be replaced with a housing building. And that's where the art would be representing the original 4th Avenue African-American community, possibly. But it should say at a future building on Catherine and 4th.
Great. Do you have those changes, Vanita? What's up?
Thank you.
Any other discussion of the minutes? David and Sarah, are those changes amendable, or I mean,
yes.
You made the change, David, so.
Yes, I'm fine with my change.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the minutes? Great. Any opposed? I think everyone said favor, so those minutes pass. Great. Next on our agenda is old business. These all look like staff report type things. Or I guess I can take us through. So review of mayoral initiative to design the city flag, a resolution tentatively set for May 17th city council agenda. Is there a staff report on that or update?
And I believe there is further down in the agenda a link to the actual resolution.
Yes. Do you want me to?
Well,
read?
I draw the attention of the commissioners to that link. Basically, it's a resolution, if council passes it, directing the art commission or asking the art commission to come up with a project plan and a proposed budget to be presented back to city council for their approval.
Great. I think we're excited about that project based off of a former conversation.
Who is responsible for the city flag project and?
I
going
think
to-
we had tentatively put it in special projects, but we're pending it actually being put onto our plate by, via this, resolution to make that decision.
Okay.
Is the special projects work group, willing to accept that, project if it, once it comes back to us and I'm assuming it gets approved by city council? It makes mostly you, so Sophie and Vasantha's on that group, right?
Yeah, and
And
Peggy
Peggy.
as well, who isn't here right now, but yeah, I mean, in theory, yes. I don't know whether we're going to need more help or more people on the special projects group, but I think for now it looks okay.
Okay, cool. I mean, feel free to throw up any red flags or ask questions, or Sarah and I can pop in any meetings you need us to, or we can relook at it then when it comes back to us.
And the purpose of doing it this way is that as commissioners, you can propose back in your project plan what resources you need to successfully execute it.
Mm.
Great. Travis?
This question is probably for Mr. Hoopy. Do you know, I don't have my draft budget in front of me. Do you know if we have put any placeholder money in the budget for next year for this, or would this likely be something, I mean, it would likely be a relatively small amount in comparison to the full budget, but knowing that it might require like additional votes and stuff like that if we don't include it in the budget initially.
The answer to your first part of the question is no, it's not in the budget. The second part is depending on what the plan is and what support is needed, it may or may not need a budget vote.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
As long as it stays under 20K, I think, right?
It's not even that necessarily. It's just the relative size versus where we might find, and I don't mean this insincerely, but where we might find loose change in the corners that we can use to fund this project.
Okay. And you don't need anyone. I mean, Travis, you'll be at this meeting, obviously, where they vote on it. Just, I guess, report back to us. We're in support of it, so.
Will do. And you know, since this is the mayor's idea, and it sounds like he's been thinking about it for a while, I imagine he will speak to it as well. But I can also speak to it and let them know that the commission is supportive and excited to work on it. So
Great. So it looks like approval of water treatment plant stairwell mural, call for art, media disbursement set for early next week.
Can I share really quick? Because you may not have seen that already.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing the call for art.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that? Yes, no?
There's a document that looks like it's in like draft mode with paragraph
Yes.
markings. Yes.
Okay. So I know that this is coming to us from Glenn, from the wastewater treatment plant. There are some adjustments that need to be made to the size and the dates, but he wanted to make the commission aware that he was preparing this to send out. More than likely, probably early next week. And so also, so that you know, the file within the agenda, all of the items that Missy shared, and as well as the things that Mr. Ennis shared, are part of those attachments. And this is also in that initial file folder there for you. You can open that up and you could actually click on those items to see them later on if you'd like.
So you're saying they're linked to our PDF of the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And are they linked with using the numbers on the PDF?
Yes.
Okay. Tricky. That's fancy. I did not pick up on that.
It's okay.
But there are no numbers with this part.
I think the two, not in the old business, there isn't. You're right. The resolution probably was linked, but this is what you're showing us right now is not linked to our agenda.
It is. It's
It
part
is?
of, it's part of the document in the first file.
Oh,
Vanita, do you mean going to the shared file site?
yeah, if you click the 210862 at the very top of
Yes.
the page, that would
Oh, it's in there.
It's the
Yes.
fifth item in that list.
And yeah, those, yes. So you have the attachments that Missy had and for the alley projects and things like that, in case you want to look at those things later. And then all the other files that are set up the same way, there's additional attachments there as well.
Gotcha.
The only thing that's going to change here on the stairwell mural, Glenn's still working on finalizing the dates. The only date that he says is pretty concrete is that he'd like to have all of those on the March 2022 date. He's still working through the application deadline dates and things like that.
It's great to see this progressing. Glenn is working really fast, so that's wonderful.
Yeah. He's excited. So I will say that Glenn has a lot of wonderful energy, and sometimes we're moving slow, and we have to be careful because he's very rambunctious and very eager to move things forward. and so I gently tug back just a little bit, but he's very excited about this. So he's eager to send it out. And if you want to take a look at it and got any things that you want to share later on by the end of the week or early next week, just let us know.
Okay, David, I see your hand up.
I don't see anything in here about the selection process. Who is going to make the decisions about who is shortlisted and who is finally selected? And primarily, is it going to be in any way based on the quality of the art or just whether they hit the budget? I mean, is it water treatment plant engineers who are making the decision, or?
They do have a business about it. It's going to be evaluated by a review committee established by the city and comprised of city and WTP staff. And there'll be a short list, and then there'll be a further development round, renderings, interviews, and then an award.
I do remember Glenn mentioning, I think when we first talked about this, that he did want the staff at the plant to be involved because it is their daily workspace. So I don't know if that's laid out there, but I do remember that's something he had said initially.
Yeah, it's understandable
also,
they'd be included. I just hope that.
Yeah,
someone is
also
looking at it
remember
from an artistic standpoint.
Yeah, Glenn has done this before. He was, am I on Green Road, Craig, for the water tower?
It was
Manchester?
Manchester.
Yeah, so Glenn headed that entire project for the mural that is currently on the Manchester water tower.
Okay.
So I am certain that he's not missing it. Maybe it's not clearly defined here, but we'll have it there for sure.
Okay.
It says in stage one, the initial application shall be evaluated by a review committee, which is established by the city and comprised of city and WTP staff, representatives, the local public art community, a representative from the Arts Commission, and other designees. I don't see specifically what they will be using as their evaluation tools, but it does specifically say what the application should include, which is like a proposal and
if I can remember back to the water tower, I think the evaluating committee set their own screening or prioritization tools for choosing it.
Yeah, I think that David's asking it, and I think it's a valid question. Because generally, when an artist is applying, they want to know what criteria is being used to evaluate their project so that they can try to make their application meet
Targeted.
that criteria.
Targeted.
Right, exactly. So if they do have specific things, I mean, I know it talks about like wanting it to fit in the theme. And obviously they want probably them to stay within budget. It's asking for a resume. So obviously if they have a good resume with references, that would be a good thing. I guess if there were other things specifically that they're going to be using to evaluate it, it would be good to know. Is that kind of what you were getting at, David?
Well, yeah, I just want someone looking at it from a quality of art standpoint. I mean, it does talk about themes of water treatment and all of that, which is fine. I mean, I just don't want it looked at from a, bunch of engineers who are saying, I like the colors.
I don't think from reading what was on the selection committee that it will be totally a bunch of engineers.
Yeah, I hadn't found that yet. Just skimming through it. So that's a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this for the first time too, but it looks pretty detailed. Glenn and I had a different conversation where we went over I sent him a couple examples of good calls and all the information that they included. And it looks like he's gone into great detail with examples and things here included in this. I mean, it's like, what, 16 pages or something? So.
Allison?
Yes. John.
I think what he's aiming at is selecting the artist based on a rough concept, not a design, and based on their past work. And then they're given a stipend to create, a maquette or to maybe visit the site and talk with people and then actually do the design. So I think it's similar to other projects that we've had for large sculptures, that you would expect someone to have a complete design, but just to pick their credentials, their past experience, and a rough concept. So it sounds to me that that's sort of what he's trying to do here. And at that, but I think David's point is accurate, that there should be something general based on that it talks about the history or there should be more, there should be something more here for the call. The other thing is, Vanita, does he want some feedback from us, or what does he want us to do? Pass a resolution in support?
He was looking for a support resolution, yes.
And if you have feedback,
And there's some feedback if you want to share later.
he'll welcome it.
I think the feedback that David pointed out is important, and I agree with him. It wouldn't be that complicated, but some general idea, and David could put it in words much better than I'm stumbling around.
Mm-hmm. So if that is something he can put together and add into the proposal here, I could send that out. We could send that out and share it, and that you'd still be okay with it moving forward once you had a time to review that.
I don't think I would even need to review it.
Okay.
Just that it needs something in there
Okay,
to describe what the criteria we're expecting
okay.
would be. Unless David, I trust David's judgment in terms of review. I sort of give my vote to David, let him do it. And if he agrees with it, I'm fine with it.
Sophie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I agree it's kind of useful to have some criteria or some ideas. On the other hand, you need to strike a balance with not restricting the possibilities too much initially, because if somebody has a great idea, but and it's water related, but it seems like it doesn't quite mesh with history or doesn't quite mesh with geography or whatever the criteria is suggested, it would be a shame to leave that out. So I think that it should be, the criteria should emphasize the openness of it and not appear to be too restrictive.
Yeah, and this document, from what I've looked at in the past 2 minutes or whatever, it seems in line with what he and I discussed. I encourage them not to ask artists to come up with complete designs for the space to select from, because you're asking artists to make a piece of art essentially for a call that they may or may not get. And so that's why, and so I'm excited to see they went with this route where they're, looking at portfolios essentially, and then paying the artist to actually make the work this way around. So that's great. David.
I think it's a great idea, and generally I'd be very supportive. I'm happy to look at the memo in more detail and maybe suggest some language. I don't think it's something I can do just sitting here, not having read the whole thing in detail.
Yeah, so I wonder if we could just say, we're in support of the project, we're in support of the call as it is for now.
Yeah.
We'll commit to reviewing it and sending any comments, questions, concerns, advice to Vanita to send along to Glenn within the next week. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our motion?
Sure.
Okay, do I was something you approved? You gave your, did you? Okay, and then so I have a second. Sophie, great. Do we do discussion?
We should. I mean,
Discussion.
you
Any
should open
discussion?
discussion and then close it.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Great. Anyone opposed? You all were in favor, so no opposed. Great. Glenn has hit our approval. Good work. Next on this old business, repair the tulip canoe sculpture that was damaged last summer. Remember, a car hit this canoe sculpture over at Vandermeer, and looks like the artist Raymond Katz retrieved the piece and is working closely with park staff on replacing it. That's great news. Anything in addition to that, Vanita or Craig? Cool. Public Works staff completed the plaque installation for the Arbor Winds and 11 pieces. I was excited to see that. That's awesome. Thank you for pushing that through. And then resolution to direct the Ann Arbor Public Art Commission to establish a project plan to redesign the city. This is just the link for us to see that resolution, correct? Or are we supposed to move or do anything at this meeting with this?
No,
Just to see it. Okay.
it's just there for your information.
Okay. Cool. New business report from staff. Vanita, do you want to talk about this A20 week any more than we already have? You're muted, Vanita.
I think Missy covered it very well.
Yeah.
I was just giving it as an information. I didn't realize she would bring it up. It's been in some of our city newsletters, so I thought I'd just share it.
Missy's contact information is here, guys, and then this is kind of where I saw that they were looking for more businesses to participate. So there's that. Sustaining Ann Arbor Together grant program. Vanita, do you want to talk about this at all?
I'm not ready yet.
Okay.
I'm reaching out to her for some more information just based off of what we talked about earlier today. And I think it might be better if I share that when I get a little bit more feedback from her.
Okay. I mean, the
Okay.
basic gist is there is potentially money
Yep.
in a grant program at the city that we might be able to use for some sort of public art project, potentially $10,000 that the grant or development or whatever work group for us would be happy to work on with Benita and getting done with Missy. All right, now we are on to report from work groups, unless there was any other things from staff that you guys wanted to throw in there.
I didn't have anything else.
All right, the first work group that we would get report from was business owners and developers work group, which is you, John, I believe, right?
Yes, nothing to report at this time.
Capital improvement project working group, David?
I don't have anything new to report. Our report went to council. I don't know what happened with it from there, so I haven't heard anything, but it was submitted.
Okay. I mean, I attended the meeting that it was in. It didn't get pulled out or anything, and Travis spoke lovely about it, and I think it was all good. It wasn't the
Excellent,
one.
thank you.
It wasn't the one where they have to approve anything, so it's fine. It's just an FYI.
Okay.
There was a lot more other controversial stuff going on in that meeting, anyway. So, communications and art placement work group. I don't know why art placement is part of this group, but communications work group, we did meet. We met actually with the city communications, I don't know if he's the director, Robert Keller, and went over again what kind of methods they have for communication, and talked about how we get social media posts going. And we have connected with him a couple times to do some Facebook posts. He did a couple Facebook posts about the Golden Paintbrush Award. I saw some of those go up on Facebook. I follow the city page, but I told him, I was like, I must not like enough of your posts because I don't see all the posts. You know, the Facebook is weird. But I also, I did an interview with WEMU and talked about the Golden Paintbrush Award. So got it out there a little bit more. So I'm excited to hear from you guys about how many submissions we got. Anything else, Deb or Sarah, you want to add communications wise?
I just wanted to say you did a great job with the interview,
Oh,
and also a message from Colleen Crawley, who I know many of you know. She heard the interview too and was really impressed, and just wanted to give you a shout out, little accolade there. So really,
thank you. They edited it well. Our next working group is the fundraising work group, which I think is me also. I don't know if the fundraising work group is the one who works with the community foundation or not, but we had a meeting with the community foundation, Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation, today to talk about the endowment funds that they want to give us our money. They want to give us our money and do it on a routine basis. So by the end of the month, we are supposed to tell them how much we want to take out, if we want to take out any, how much we want to roll over, if we want to roll over any, or how much we want to reinvest into the endowment if we want to do that with any. The current amount we have available to us is just over $7,500. The communications group is looking at about $2,000 to use on marketing, supporting the Golden Paintbrush Award, and potentially getting the word out about our current collection and or any other projects coming on board throughout the end of the year. And then we're also exploring the potential augmenting any budgets related to any other projects coming on board, such as the Pickle Street project, maybe, you know, paying for their permits or something like that. I'm using a little bit of the money this year. Definitely not looking to take out the whole 7,500 because we don't have anything specifically identified that we would be using those funds on right now, and would love to be able to use it on something we're all really excited about investing in at a later date. So we're still exploring that a little bit more, and we'll be figuring that all out hopefully by the end of the month, telling them exactly how much we want to take out and use this year. So if you guys, any of you have any specific things you hear about or know about that you would like to add to that conversation, definitely can do it now, or feel free to reach out to myself or Sarah or Vanita about that. Let's see. Leadership Forum Work Group nominations. I think we met. I was at between our last meeting and this meeting. Deb and Sarah and I met about it.
If you like, I can speak to this one.
Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank you all for stepping up and actually adding, more than 50 names to the spreadsheet when we asked you for suggestions. Thank you so much for that. It is a wide-ranging group. Many of the names are familiar to me. Some of them are not, but it looks like it's a good place to start. And the strategy moving forward, as was put forward in our strategic planning in December, was that we would try to have small group sessions with these potential leadership communicator types. And then from that, we would be able to both generate interest, tell them about what the PAC has been doing, see if they are interested in signing up for what might be a fall kickoff, to be part of this inaugural group, and also to get additional names from them to expand this group to that this initial 50, we're hoping by the end of the summer could be, as many as 200 people that we can actually start to develop this communicator and leadership group from. So this is an excellent start. I appreciate that my fellow commissioners have stepped up to the challenge that we put forward to them. And I also would like to say it's not too late to add some names to this list if you have not done so already. Please visit the list. I sent out the link in an email to you previously. Check out who's there, because if even if you were someone that submitted to the list, you can say, oh, wait a second, now that I see that this person's on the list, it reminds me that this next person should be on the list. So that's, I think, the plan over the next couple of months. Small groups. I think we set a goal of 5 of these prior to sort of the end of the year, which is coming up. But certainly that's the work for the summer and into the fall as we move into our vaccinated post-pandemic future. Is there anything else anyone would like to say on this? Again, thank you so much. We appreciate that that we've got such a great list to go on.
Yes, thank you for driving that forward, Deb.
Oh yeah, I'm certainly driving it forward.
Leadership Review Work Group, Policy and Governance Work Group. I feel like those are separate ones. So Leadership Review Work Group, I believe, is the one who just did the survey and probably doesn't have any other updates. John, do you have any other updates as far as leadership, other than Sarah is here as our vice chair today? Thank you for your service.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Policy and Governance Work Group. We haven't been doing any policy work since we sent the budget stuff forward. Correct me if I'm wrong, Deb or Sarah. No, okay.
I think the main thing we want to keep track of right now is, of course, follow up on the budget line item, but also the flag resolution.
Right. And I'm seeing now that, so the nominations and or leadership review group is kind of bundled into one. So we do have 2 openings now on our commission once that leaves us after today's meeting. Jonah has stepped down as well. So we do have some applicants for the roles, but I would encourage you all to, if you have people within your networks who you think would be a good fit for the Arts Commission, please encourage them to apply. That's how we get commissioners. You have to apply on the city website. You know, I think ideally we would be bringing in more artists. I don't know. It would be great to have more voices at the table.
I think some outreach also to the business community.
Yep. So if you know anyone who fits that criteria, or who you think would be interested in hanging out with us once in a while, let them know that we're going to be selecting a couple more commissioners moving forward. So that's something that Sarah and I will be looking at in the next month or so. Sarah, you had your hand up.
I did have just a quick clarification question on commissioners. So is it required that the commissioners are living within the city of Ann Arbor? That is, and that if you're living in a township, Ann Arbor Township, that is still okay, but it's preferred that you are.
So all commissioners have to be approved by city council. They're moved forward by, or they're nominated by the mayor and approved by city council. And anyone who is more familiar with this, and if I say anything wrong, correct me. But it just takes more votes if you're not a resident. Like, it has to have more yeses than no's.
There's a higher threshold. It requires a supermajority to appoint a non-resident to a commission.
But in general, like, it hasn't been very controversial when people are put forward, specifically for our group in the past. Sophie.
Yeah, I have experience of being regarded as a non-resident, because although I've actually lived in Ann Arbor for 23 years, I'm not a citizen yet. And so I was regarded as not being a citizen of Ann Arbor. And so there had to be extra voting hoops for the council to jump through, or me to jump through, or something. Anyway, it all worked out in the end, as you see, because here I am.
Yeah, and I think it's actually, and maybe Craig, you can correct me, I think that's because I think it's actually like around the language might be electors of Ann Arbor, because I think they check voter registration locations. So that may also contribute to it.
Yes. And I think the threshold is seven, not just simple majority. I think it goes up to 7 or 8 that need to approve the appointment.
The short answer is no, they can live wherever they want. But I think we would be interested in someone who has knowledge of the city of Ann Arbor and the art in the city of Ann Arbor, and that would be more important than where they live or their residences.
Yeah, that certainly is. I mean, so a recent example that we dealt with was one of the youth commission representatives on the police oversight commission was a student at the University of Michigan, but because of the pandemic, she was actually living at home in Detroit. And so we appointed her, though, because obviously as a student at the university, she still is very vested in the city and had worked with the commission previously. And so we looked more at kind of her experience in the circumstance rather than what her physical address was.
Any other questions on this part? All right. Now we can go on to special projects work group. Sophie, you are representing.
Yeah, Wasenta unfortunately had to leave, and Peggy couldn't make it to the meeting. So it's just me, but we did have a meeting and we've chosen the 5 judges, which I believe we already ran past the commission. So hopefully that's all settled and okay, the judges we would like, we composed a letter for Alison to send to them as soon as inviting them to be judges, as soon as the deadline passed, which it has now passed. We wanted to add into that letter how many nominations there were, which I don't know actually. Vanita, can you tell us how many nominations there were?
I think we had a total of 25.
Pretty good.
I got a mad dash on Friday afternoon between 2 and 5 o'clock. I got about 8 in.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
I posted some last minute things on my Facebook inviting people, so who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we wanted to add that into the letter, that how many nominations there were. We have obviously the list of suggestions from commissioners. If any of those judges can't make it, we still have others we can invite. We thought it would be nice to try and keep to 5 rather than fewer. Then once we've got our panel of judges agreeing, then Vanita can send the nominations to them and Alison can facilitate meetings. And we suggested a deadline of the end of June for the deliberations. I expect if it's really necessary, we could perhaps extend that, but it would be nice to kind of get it done and dusted so that we can get on with awarding them in the summer, which would be nice.
I think we'll send the information out through Sarah, if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Allison, because you've submitted, right?
Oh, I mean,
So
I nominated someone, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, we'll have everything flow through Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
When I said Alison, I meant Sarah there, so regardless of Sarah.
Good night.
So Sarah needs to get the text of that letter so that she can officially be the signatory, I presume, and then Anita will perhaps send it out to the judges.
Yeah, I can send it, or Sarah, you can send it. I'll put it together in a really nice email for you to have everything, and you can take a look at it. And then if you'd like to send it under your name, perfectly fine with me.
Right, that sounds
The
good.
only question I had was the People's Choice Award. Is that a new thing? Okay. Do we want to put all 25 out to the people to select from the People's Choice Award, or do we want to have the judges narrow that down before the people vote? When do you want the People's Choice Award to happen, I guess, too?
I'm not sure we considered those options because if we've said we'll do one thing, then presumably we have to do that. But if we've left it vague, then we could perhaps narrow it down. I don't know.
I looked through all the stuff and I didn't see how that was being selected. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, no, we didn't give that the consideration it deserves. So if anyone has suggestions, I'd be happy to hear them.
25 is a big list for a curated award that's crowdsourced. I think that, something around 5 might be the edge of what you'd like to put forward to the public. You might even put up 3, but I do think that it should be a curated list for them to choose from.
Well, and 5 is what we're looking at having the judges select as ones who are going to get the award anyway. So I guess you could pick the People's Choice from those 5.
Yeah, you certainly could, or you could extend it a little bit just to give a little more. I do think, though, it should be a smaller curated list.
Well, I mean, one option is to exclude the ones who the judges choose. And another is just to have a slightly longer list, like 7 or something, so that some people who end up getting what amounts to an honorary award in a way, if they don't get the actual prizes. I can't remember whether there's a financial prize now for the People's Choice. There isn't any financial choice prize, is there? So it doesn't really matter one way or another. Yeah, so yeah, does anyone else have any thoughts one way or another?
So having just said that, I run a competition where we have all 40 open to a People's Choice Award. So, and it works just fine. And that actually is much more ecumenical and does allow for something that wouldn't necessarily be considered as highly by the judges, but really pleases or tickles and a broader audience to come forward. So having said I thought a curated amount would be a good idea, I'm like, wait a second, I run an award. It opens it up to everybody, but we do online voting in that case. And so that's another way is how, if you're going to do something like that, you have to have a way for people to really look at the stuff.
Well, doesn't the city have a way to collect people's opinions online? Isn't there's a facet? Yeah, okay. And the more we talk about it, I feel like as long as there aren't any overlap in the 25 submissions, or there isn't any submission that is like outside of the parameters, like that's in Detroit or something, or happened 3 years ago, like something that doesn't qualify, I would say then, sure, put them all out, and then people can, it's a kind of a way of informing people about all these cool projects that have happened in a way too. And then it could happen at like any point from now until and be announced with the same ones as the judges pick. Like you don't have to do any back and forth or anything that way.
I think it doesn't create more work for the judges, which would be an important aspect. And so if people are voting online, it's a way of creating, as you say, more awareness of the whole Golden Paintbrush Award, and people will presumably hustle for their entry. So, then they'll publicize it, which is a good thing. So, yeah, I think we should just probably leave it open to the public to.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, maybe Sophie and Sarah and Vanita, like three of you could look at the applications and, like I said, take any out that either are the same project or that don't qualify, and then potentially, Vanita, if you could work with the city portal to put those all out, that would probably make most sense. And then People's Choice Award, do they get a plaque too, or did we not really decide?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited about it.
Where are the plaques coming from?
Sarah?
Well, so we were talking about, timeline on creating like a custom tile.
Yeah.
Looking at the artwork, it would be difficult. It would be difficult for us to produce that in a timely manner. But what we do have are Barton Tower tiles that we could produce. And I believe that because we're looking at 6 awards, correct? The 5 plus People's Choice. And potentially for like a future year's project, we could make custom tiles. But the timeline, even when we initially started talking about this, was going to be a little difficult. So, however, we can do, these Barton Tower tiles. I think that's a good representation of Ann Arbor. And we can put wooden frames around the tiles and then actually put plaques on the frames. So that would list, whatever information we wanted to list. Obviously, name and date and award. And we could do that way. And I believe that is something that Motawi could donate to the award. If it was a custom tile, that's more labor intensive and, we wouldn't be able to do completely pro bono, but the Barton Tower idea we definitely could do. And I can send over images of that tile so you guys actually see it.
And if we wanted to do the custom tile and have that ready for next year's, and then potentially like swap out, like give the ones who got the Barton one of those next year, we could do that, and it could go into the same wood frame. I could like swap it out.
I would
No,
say
thank you.
actually, so the Barton Tower tile is a little bit larger, and that size tile, if we were to do a completely custom design, that would be a little more expensive.
Okay.
And wouldn't fit in the same size frame then.
Gotcha.
So we'd probably want to look at a smaller, like 4x4 tile. And this is actually something to talk to Colleen about. She runs that department in terms of, you know, moving forward with something custom. And we usually have a minimum of 100 pieces for custom tiles. So what we would do is probably make a larger amount that could be on hold for future trophies for years. So we could do it that way, so that at least starting in 2022 and beyond, there are trophies for a few years that would be custom.
Yeah, Sophie.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea to have the Burton Tower one for this year and plan something else for the future. You were talking about the funds that we have, and I was just wondering if another project might be to call for designs for the award and have some money for the winner, and also to pay whatever was needed for Matawi Tiles to produce, even possibly produce a bigger one than the 4x4.
Yeah, I think potentially we could do that. I think we would, we'd need budget numbers from you, Sarah, for the production of the tiles. And then also, I would look to the Golden Paintbrush Award and Special Projects Work Group to come up with potentially like budget they would want to put out for the reward for the artist who does the design. The call, and if there was any budget that went along with the call, probably not. That's just Vanita would just do that, right? And so we would, Sophie, if you wanted to meet with Peggy and Wasantha to get some ideas and numbers behind that, we're trying to get that full budget for that ask by the end of the month. So in the next week or so, if you wanted to come up with
we
it.
would need to know when we would need that, Sarah, in order for it to actually work for the following year.
So for 2022, if we're looking at the same timeline where the awards would be given out in July, correct?
Well, June, just in case.
June, July, then I would say if we had the information, all of that kind of set, the artwork, budget approved, and everything, we could start producing those tiles, I would say, to be totally safe, February or March. That's going to be the safest we possibly could be.
Okay, so we would need to get the design settled by the end of this year, this calendar year, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems doable.
And I can set a meeting for us, Sarah, Sophie, for us to talk about this a little bit more if you'd like.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be good. Thanks, Vanita.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie, and the Special Projects Group for pushing this forward and making this happen. I'm excited to see who all is nominated and promoted on social media and see who gets the prizes.
Oh, do we have to do anything to get the People's Choice thing set up, or is that again something for Vanita to work on?
I think the three of you need to review the submissions, and then I think Vanita gets to pull those reins.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
We have faith in you, Vanita.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Youth outreach work group. I don't think we have anyone from that work group here. Because I think that group consists of Wasantha, Peggy, and it was Jonah.
Yeah.
Sarah, were you on that group?
I wasn't,
Okay.
but I can be because
If you want to, I think that group has shrunk by one because Jonah's not on that group anymore. But we just don't have a report from them today. That's okay. I wanted to take a minute to, a minute is not long enough, but a minute to recognize Deb and all of her service. She has been a pivotal voice on the commission and has really brought a lot of wisdom and patience. And she has been an awesome driving force for me personally and for the entire team. And I cannot thank you enough for being here and being a role model and being awesome. And we are all going to severely miss you and your voice at the table. So thank you, thank you. Come back as often as you want. I'm still going to twist your arm to participate on the leadership forum or in some way, hopefully.
Well, thank you so much, Allison. It has been an absolute pleasure being on the commission. And I think that, you know, in looking at what I needed to do next, in terms of some of the things, you know, at the university and a few other places, I just needed to do some reprioritizing, and it was very difficult for me to give up this position on the commission to do so. Allison knows I went back and forth about it, but I would like to, with the commission's permission, continue to work to get the leadership forum up and going, if that's amenable to those of you that are still staying and serving in a more official capacity. So thank you so much for your friendship and your support. And I don't think this is goodbye. This is just a new phase of our working together. And who knows? The commission has openings every year. And so we may meet up this way again. Thank you.
So we're at the end of our agenda. This is where people who want to share anything they have to share have the table. And I see Sophie's hand up.
Yes, I have two things. First of all, I completely forgot, and I shouldn't have done, to point out that the whole golden paintbrush thing has been driven and revived and led and advised and provided with lots of information and useful stuff from John Kotarski. So thank you, John. And certainly we wouldn't have got here at all without you. So thanks. In terms of things to announce, we are planning, hoping to have Art Hop, Westside Art Hop in June, second weekend of June. So we're looking for hosts, we're looking for artists, and we're looking for people to come on that weekend. So look out for westsidearthop.com.
Sophie, what does being a host entail other than I have a driveway on the old west side?
That's mainly what you need, but our area is actually slightly smaller than the entire west side because we want it to be walkable. So it's basically between West Liberty and Pauline and between South 7th and, well, actually no, between 1st and 2nd Street and say Zion Church kind of little block. And all our artists are going to have to be vaccinated, and we would like the public to be too, but we can't insist, but they can stay away if they're not. And of course, everybody will have to wear masks. And yeah, you just need a driveway or a garage which is clean enough to walk into, or a porch that's reasonably well sheltered. So,
great. Deb.
So because Allison beat me to it, I got to thank you all just previously, but I also wanted to express my real appreciation for Craig and Vanita during the time that I've been on the commission. Again, you have made service on this commission such a pleasure, so easy, and really have built and maintained such a fantastic partnership with the commission that I just wanted to acknowledge how much I'm going to miss both of you as well, and working with you on the regular basis. So,
And the credit all goes to Vanita. She is the heart and soul of supporting you folks.
know that, but I wanted to say something. No, you both.
No. All team.
That's right.
Thank you,
But anyway,
Deb.
thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you both.
Thanks so much.
Any other announcements, things you'd like to share? All right, well, without further ado.
Sophie.
Oh, go ahead, Sophie.
I just think it's great that we seem to have so many projects going on and they're all really cool things. And isn't that wonderful? That's what we're supposed to be doing and we're doing it. Amazing.
We are. And more to come. We've got a few more for next month on the agenda as well. So a couple more mural possibilities coming.
Yes, I forgot to mention, I have been in touch with the Ypsilanti Arts Commission, and Jennifer Goulet is going to come. She couldn't come tonight, but she's going to come to our next meeting and say hi and tell us a little bit more about what they're doing. And I'm going to go say hi at their meeting this month. So we'll be connecting with them soon. So Sophie, again, thank you for bringing them to our attention, and look forward to what we're able to do with them. All right. No more hands. Okay, well then, do I have to make a motion to adjourn, or do I just adjourn us? Okay, do I see, John is ready to get out of here. Do I have a second on that? Thank you, Sarah. All in favor? Okay, motion passes. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.